Welcome to Country Fried Rock. I'm your host, Sloan Spencer. This week, my guest is Sadler Vaden, known more for playing guitar for Jason Isbell in Drivin N Cryin. Sadler Vaden started out as a songwriter fronting his own band. We chat about his debut full-length album release, Sadler Vaden. My guest today on Country Fried Rock is a name familiar to most of our listeners, Sadler Vaden. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Thanks so much for making this work. I know you spend most of your time on the road.
I do, and we just got back from a 2-month haul. We were in Europe and we did a North American tour. But I'm glad to do it. I'm home now. So
I saw you had a little bit of a bus mishap with some lunch one day.
With some noodles, yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. It's not exactly how it happened, but we made it work. That's the story we're sticking with. Yeah, but it's amazing how hateful people are. On Twitter. Jason posted that, and, you go back and you look at the comments and stuff. And
oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that.
Most of them are like, ha ha. And then some of them are, learn how to eat, you jack. Really?
People are crazy.
Really just, and the funny thing is the joke's on them because it was manipulated to look how it looked. Yeah, people... I don't know what's going on with people. I don't like people anymore.
Listen, I hear you.
I love people, but there's some scary folks out there these days. And social media
really
makes it worse. They have a platform now. I know.
It's crazy.
It's a handful.
I mean, I really genuinely am impressed that you've been able to get anything recorded with the amount of time that you're working with other people. Take me back to how your record started, because I can't figure out when you had time to do this.
Well, thank you for saying that. It makes me feel good that someone's impressed that I found time to record it. Honestly, it makes me feel really good. To me, the way my brain works is I'm not doing enough, and it drives my wife crazy, I think, because she's like, you're on tour for 2 months and you come home and I'm like, well, I'm a creative person. I like being creative. I want to say 2 years ago, I was going to make an album, and then it never really, I don't know, I kept writing, and so much time had passed after I recorded, say, 4 songs that I was like, well, I moved on from this now, and I mean, I'm not feeling it anymore, and so much time has passed. So April 2015, I'd got with my producer friend, Paul Ebersol, over here at the Bakery Studios in Berry Hill, and I said, look, man, I really need to make an album here. I really want to make some, even if it's an EP, whatever it is, I want to do something and see it go all the way to the end with it, because that's how usually, that's how people do it. So we started in April and we did a big session. I think we did like 6 or 7 songs in a day, just basic tracking, no click track. Got some friends of mine on bass and drums and keys. And so we did that, and then I think it was a few months later that came in and recorded a few more. And then it was a few months after that I had sort of kept working on the lyrics. I wasn't happy with the lyrics, and I kept working on them. So then we had a big session where we did vocals. Yeah, I got to 8 songs, and I was like, man, I think this is a cool album. And I know it's only 8 songs, but feels good. And then over time, I'd send it to friends, and, I was totally neurotic about it because some people that I respect their opinion a whole lot were like, man, I think it needs to be 10 songs. And I'm like, well, why do you think it has to be? On the Beach by Neil Young's like 7 or 8 songs. There's a lot of albums that are, not 10 songs. But then I just decided I had written a new song that I thought was really good. And I wanted people to hear it, and I didn't want to wait until another year or however much time goes by. I didn't want to do that, so I decided to add 2 more. So now it's a full 10-song LP. I found time, just a couple weeks here, a month here. The songs were already pretty much done besides some lyrical edits. So it was pretty easy,
Well, one of the things that has been interesting for me to observe as an outsider is that, not only are you on the road a lot playing with Jason Isbell's band, but you also support a lot of other folks in the studio in different ways. How has that worked, particularly in the last couple of years for you?
I haven't done a ton of studio stuff. I'd like to do more of it. But as you know, we're in Nashville, and there are a lot of guitar players and bass players and drummers and songwriters. So I'm not really doing, say, not to mean typical in a bad way, but your typical like Music Row sessions where you're cutting country demos and you're playing on big records. Those guys really don't tour for the most part, and they made a conscious decision to say, I want to stay home and I just want to play in the studio all day, which is cool. So for me, it's, say I played on Corey Brandon's album. I play on a lot of like developing artist stuff that a friend of mine will be working on. It just sort of falls into place like that. But usually it's, say, an artist that I know, like Corey. To whoever's listening, I'd like to do more of it. So if you want me to play on your album, I'm available most of the time.
Well, so how did you originally connect with Paul Ebersol?
I had a band called Leslie from Charleston, South Carolina for 8 years, and he did one of our EPs, and he did our full-length album that came out in 2011. So he was he was in Memphis at the time. We kind of hooked up through the manager of my old band, and yeah, that's how we got to know him. And he ended up recording us, and then he moved to Nashville, and then I moved to Nashville, and we just kept in touch.
Got it. Well, and so I think that some long-term listeners of the show will know that that's how I originally knew of you, from playing with Leslie, and then the transition to moving to Nashville, because I'm a South Carolina person. So
yeah, we made a stink in South Carolina,
You did.
Yeah.
It was quite the thing, and I think y'all just got off the road, perhaps, with another South Carolina band that's made a little dent in the water.
Shovels in a rope. Yes, it was like having my brother and sister, out there.
South Carolina is still taking credit for Hootie Days, so we're just happy to see other South Carolinians making it.
Yeah, I just turned 30, so like I loved Hootie and the Blowfish, and I still like Hootie and the Blowfish, and it's just funny. There's a lot of folks that are like, "Gosh, will it ever go away?" And I'm like, well, it's part of South Carolina music history, whether you like it or not. And they sold a lot of albums. When you listen to Cracked Review now, I would love for a band to come out with that now.
That's a great record. It's a great record.
It's great. And it's a band playing, and, at the time, I think people were a bit confused as to why it was so popular. But you listen to it now, I mean, it's in there with the Jim Blossoms to me, and, and it's part nostalgia.
Sure.
But it's good. Let Her Cry. I love that song.
To bring it back to the question about Paul Ebersol, so you had some connection with him from your previous band. And so did that help with keeping a little bit of continuity in the recording, since it was broken up into different sections? Just that familiarity, I guess?
Yeah. Josh St. Moblo is the guy that engineered the album, and he's a really good engineer. And so I think he was just able to make everything sound the same too. The majority of the album was cut around the same time. It was only a few tunes that weren't cut around the same time. So if you got the majority recorded, yeah, it was cool. And it was the first time that he sort of let me produce with him, because I'm to the age now and I've had enough experience recording music and working on my own stuff that I had a pretty clear picture of what I wanted with the album. So I'm glad he was open to let me do that.
We've interviewed a couple of folks that have become friends over the years who have credited you specifically with really helping them creatively. And those two folks at two separate times were Kevin Kinney a couple of months ago and Aaron Lee Tasjan, both saying that you're really good at helping someone find their vision.
That is, extremely flattering, because I respect those two guys a whole lot. I know with Kevin, it wasn't necessarily, let's sit down and talk about the vision. I just think Kevin, I became a muse of sorts. That feels really weird saying, but I think that's the truth, is I became sort of a muse when I was in Drivin N Cryin, because of like my love for all that old classic British rock and my energy, my positivity. And, I think he really used that to create. And I've seen articles where he said, Sadler produced, this, and it's like, I with Kevin, it doesn't mean that I was sitting behind a glass window and a console, saying, all right, we're going to take that again. That was good, but, I didn't do any of that, actually. But I think he just means I was a heavy influence. Me being there was a heavy influence on those 4 EPs that we did, which I just think are great. I really am so proud of them. I'm so proud of them. And Aaron, I just love him so much, and he's a great songwriter. And he's come to me a few times, not necessarily for advice, but, just as a buddy. And I think the last thing I said to him, he sent me an email just asking some questions. And I think he just had a night where he was staying up and thinking about a lot of things. And I told him that he needed to stop playing guitar and going on tour with all these different folks. And he just needed to do him, just be Aaron Lee Tasjan. And since then, that's exactly what he's done. And it's going great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I do find that I'm getting used more and more, less for my songwriting, vocal, and guitar abilities, but more for, hey, Sadler, do you know a great guitar player? Do you know somebody, blah, blah, blah? And I've been able to help a good bit of people, Will Hogue being one of them, the Wild Feathers.
We had them on the show a while back.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about me, but maybe people just see me as someone who's worked in the touring realm and the recording realm, but just been kicking around the South for a good while now, I don't know what it is, but that's flattering to hear that those guys think of me that way.
You're a guy who's very good at helping people not only connect to other people, but connect to maybe the part of where they can be the most creative themselves, like your advice to Aaron.
I'm not going to be... What is it? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I mean, because I take that stuff very seriously, and I would just say what I felt. And it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but I think when you can have a peer tell you, like I would want Aaron to give me, those thoughts. So when you can have a peer sometimes be like, man, I think you should just do all you for a while, because you're never going to see your full potential until you try it. And it's a sacrifice. I feel like I did that with Leslie for 8 years. And I didn't see my full potential because I haven't reached my full potential. Hopefully we all never will. Hopefully you just keep, raising the bar on yourself. Hopefully you'll always have potential. That's what I believe. I feel like you always have to have potential for greater. But yeah, I wish with this album I could really go out there and do a whole tour. Maybe one day I will, but for now it's just a way for me to do what I do, get my creativity out there, because it's something that's a part of me, and I feel like people are going to like it and appreciate it. It can be an alternative.
Where specifically in the recording, when you were bringing in friends to play and that sort of thing, what kind of sounds were you able to capture by bringing in those different friends?
Well, we had Audley Freed play on some tracks, so you get that, which is great. I had John Lloyd, who's a great musician. He plays keyboards and sings, and John Estes on bass, and John Radford on drums, and both of those guys, they're all named John.
That's right.
But John Estes and John Radford play with Steelism, so they're a great rhythm section, and my goal was for them to follow their dreams on the sessions. I just said, I want you to play like Paul McCartney. Like not exactly, but have you been doing any sessions around town where they let you do that? No? Okay, we'll do it. If you feel like doing a Keith Moon fill on the drums, do it.
Awesome.
Do all that stuff. I want all that stuff. And we didn't do click track, and a lot of it was just cut live. Just feels good. I love the way it feels. I can't wait for people to hear it.
It's a fun record. It's very upbeat. I guess this is silly, and I think I might have even posted this somewhere. The vocals kept reminding me of all different kinds of things, and I guess because I haven't gotten to see you do your own stuff before. I think that's why I was surprised.
Cool.
I don't know.
Well, is surprised in a good way?
Yeah, very.
Okay,
there's
good.
a lot more range in the style than I was expecting, and that's my own narrow thoughts coming into it.
Well, I can't base any opinions on it anymore. I've heard it too many times. I'm guilty of that. Once I create something, I'm learning how to get better. But you just critique it, and you can actually critique it into the ground. But with that said, it should always be what you want. Because there's no better feeling than moving on, and something's what you wanted. Out of it. It's not exactly how I envisioned it, but I think the songs are really good. And I think for people who like Drivin N Cryin, like Jason, and like Brendan Benson, like Big Star, I think they'll like the album. And I'm also not trying to be Kevin Kinney or Jason. It's not like you're going to get a record that sounds like that.
I mean this in a very positive way, because obviously I'm an enormous fan of every person we have discussed. It's a lot more fun of a record than I was expecting.
Oh, good.
I mean that in a good way.
I like to have fun, rock out.
I'm not on tour, but I drive 60,000 miles a year. So I listen to music in the car, and I want stuff that makes me crank it up and want to open the sunroof.
Yeah. Does this record do that for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
So you're putting this record out yourself. This is a solely DIY effort. What do you have in store for getting this out to people?
It's going to be on iTunes. It's going to be available to stream, and it'll be for purchase through my Bandcamp website and also sadlervaden.com. And I will have CDs, will be the only physical product I make starting out. I'd love to do vinyl, but it's a long wait to get vinyl because it's so popular now, and it's expensive. So we'll see if there's a demand for vinyl. I may think of some alternative ways to do that. I may do like a Pledge Music funding thing strictly for vinyl. Like that's the only thing on there.
That would be cool.
Yeah, because then it's like, if you want a vinyl, buy one.
Let's make this happen, yeah.
And if, 100 of you do that, then I'll make them.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. I don't have that plan in the works. That just came off the top of my head just now. But for those of you who are going to listen to this, when you hear the record and you think this would sound awesome on vinyl, he should make vinyl, well, let me know. Communicate with me. I don't have distribution in the record stores and things like that. People are really going to have to come directly to me or iTunes to get this thing, which is kind of cool in itself. I mean, go to the website, go on iTunes, but you'll be able to buy a physical CD off my website, and I'll ship it to you directly from my house. Hey, everyone, I'm also on Bandcamp. That's sadlervaden.bandcamp.com.
Woohoo! That album is finally out on vinyl. You can order it off of Bandcamp. Is there anything special with the album art?
It's going to be special. For the first time, it's going to have photos of me. I've never done anything where there's been photos of me on there. So that may not be special for some, but for me, it's special because all the things I've put out have never had photos of me on them. So
that will be fun. Are you already working on all that, or is that still top secret?
Yeah, it's getting worked on right now.
Cool.
So I'm excited to see it. Yeah. I think one of the photos came from one of the sessions I did with Jason for Something More Than Free. So I think one of the photos came from that, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
Hey, this is Sadler Vaden, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock. You can purchase my album at sadlervaden.com. If you'd like to know how my name is spelled, it's SADLERVADEN.
Country Fried Rock is a listener-supported program. You make it happen. Thank you. Our 2016 bed music is from the Flat Duo Jets, a live version off of the Athens, Georgia Inside Out compilation. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts. Country Fried Rock is distributed to radio stations via PRX, the Public Radio Exchange, at prx.org. Select episodes are also available via Airplay Direct at airplaydirect.com. Country Fried Rock is copyright 2016 by Lilypad Productions, DBA Country Fried Rock. All rights reserved.
Ever he been helping us some country fried rock.